Okay, we're fixing to go into a workshop dealing with our solid waste facility. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank the board for letting us come today and talk with you about the county solid waste program. We feel like this will be a good opportunity for us to look at what we're doing now and maybe some opportunities for us in the future. So it's going to be very informal, but hopefully informational for you. So we'll go ahead and begin. And I guess the board knows my name's Jeff Massey, and I don't know anybody that doesn't know Billy McKee. So anybody in the audience, my name's Jeff, and this is Billy. So okay, here we are. We've been referred to as that already. So go to that first slide. I wanted to show the team. This is your current this is your current solid waste team at the landfill, and very good group of men and women that work very hard in very extreme conditions. And I think this morning was proof of that, because when the gates were opened, you couldn't see 2 foot in front of you. So, but we persevered, and everything's going fine, and traffic's moving. Okay. Wanted to stress the importance of the discussion we're going to have. I guess the biggest reason is that solid waste represents the largest single contract the county has, annual contract. And we're going to estimate that contract to being right about $8 million a year. So you can see this is something that needs very, very good eyes on it to make sure that we're making the right decisions as we move forward. Okay. About the facility. 160 acres, basically the facility sits on. We're out 83 North. I think most of you know exactly where we're at. Approximately 1,200 acres is adjoining. The facility is a part of that 1,200 acres, as well as, I believe, the Sheriff's Department, too, sits on that 1,200 acres. In a moment, we'll have a slide to point that out and show you exactly how that's laid out. But we're open Monday through Friday, 6 to 4:30, Saturdays, 7 to 1. And one thing I just want to point out, I think there's 11 holidays in the county. These guys work all of them but 3. So they're hardworking guys out there, because when other people are having fun, you're generating garbage. So somebody's got to be at the wheel. So they do a great job of that. And there's 15 of us, by the way. Okay, this is the map. Okay, I want to make sure what map I was on. This is the big picture map here. You can notice, and I don't have color in front of me, but you should have an outlined area in yellow. That pretty much defines the perimeters of the 1,200 acres. And you can see in this picture that the state prison sits there, and the jail to the extreme left of the landfill. So that kind of gives you the big picture on what property is owned adjacent and surrounding the landfill. The area that you see with the yellow lines kind of diagonally going across, that's actually the landfill area that we're working on today. And we're going to go and show you those facilities a little bit closer, but and with the map that'll give you a better depiction of that. Our permitted facilities. We have Class 1, a Class 1 landfill. It takes your household garbage. It takes your commercial garbage. It takes about anything you can throw away that's not prohibitive to the permit. There are certain things sometimes in permits that says you can't take. You don't take hazardous waste. You don't take tires. You might accept them, but you have to get rid of them because you can't bury them. Things like that, okay? And it's not currently in use. Right. And we have the closed that's been closed since 1992, doesn't accept any waste. It's been sitting there all this time. That's still a part of our permit. And we also have our Class 3 landfill that's currently in operation, and that's the one that you guys are used to and the public's used to when they come out there and you drive up the hill and you see the operations up there. And then again, you have the transfer station. And the transfer station basically is a facility designed to accept waste for storage, processing, for transport to another location. And we do have. So each one of these items represent a permit. And I will get into all this in detail one by one with you as we go down. But I wanted to go to this next slide, the map, because this, as we talk about these different pieces to the solid waste program at the landfill, I felt like it was important for you to be able to identify just how this sits on the property and where it's at. And can we zoom in on any of that, Billy? Or? Okay. Okay. The very top left. Can you take your cursor, or is he going to do that? Rick's got it? Okay. The very top left corner, you'll see the Class 3, where it says Class 3. That's our active Class 3 site. That's where you actually come in the gate, do the scales, and go up the hill and dispose of your waste. Okay? If you move directly south of there, you'll go to the transfer station. It's just a little bit south of the Class 3 site. So you can see those two are in very close proximity. They sit approximately, I would say the scale house, the transfer station, and the Class 3 sits on approximately a 40-acre square. Excuse me. Now, if you come due south of that, and you see that area that's another big square, that is our closed site. That was 39.5 acres is what it is. And that's the one that hasn't received waste since 1992. Now, if you go, and this is important because this is where our active cell is, if you go straight across to the right from that cell I was just talking about, this is where your unlined permitted cell lays. It's approximately a 6-acre cell, and it's laid right there. And the rest of that property in that square, that 40 acres, has been designed to accommodate the same type of Class 1 landfill as that cell. Okay? They're not built yet, but that is what you've got. Class 3 landfill, it's the same thing as a Class 1. It just can't take food waste and organic waste. Okay? Oh, yeah, and I did want to mention this, too. Thank you, Billy. The very bottom left, you'll see that area there that's kind of a horseshoe a little bit. You see those terraces, maybe a little bit of a reddish-brown color. That is an area that we are currently performing a remediation activity in. We're going to step into that a little bit later, too, as well. But that process is a part of the post-closure of our unlined Class 1 cell. So, okay, permitted facilities. Let's talk about our unused Class 1 site. No, that's not unused. We got a typo there. Yeah, that is. No, that's not right. The unused Class 1 site I was just mentioning to you, it has a double composite liner in it. What that means is it has a bottom layer of that landfill with natural clay liner under it. There's also some other things in there. They have a geosynthetic fabric. They have a material called Claymax. And what that Claymax does is if a liner should get a pinhole in it, which you don't want to happen, that stuff swells 10 times its volume and plugs the hole. It's a safety net. This landfill was built under Subtitle D regs, which means it has to have that in there. You can't dig a hole anymore and bury waste. Our landfill has a double composite liner, which is state-of-the-art. Why this is important is because it is the ultimate protection against groundwater and ensuring your environment's not affected. I have never, in my professional career, been around a landfill with a double composite liner that's had a problem. So kudos, for the foresight back then to construct a facility like that. I wanted to point out the importance of that composite liner. But it has not received any waste. It was built in 1992, but is still currently permitted. So we have some options to think about concerning that facility, and that was one of the reasons for us to come here today. Class 1 waste, again, is basically everything we throw away from the house, including your food and your business and your commercial and stuff like that. Let's go to our closed Class 1 real quick. This is right at 40 acres, and it hadn't received any waste since 1992. It does not have a synthetic liner. It has a natural clay liner. We still have to monitor it for gas, groundwater, and things like that. Anytime you have a permitted site that closes, you have a 30-year post-closure after that site's closed, and you have to do that monitoring. So when you go into the landfill business and open a new landfill, you have to have financial assurance that and set aside monies to make sure when that landfill closes, you have the money to make sure you can monitor it for 30 years. That's what we're doing right now out there at that site right there. And I want to talk a little bit about that site and some of the capabilities of it a little bit further down in the presentation. And Billy, I think I missed our Class 1. That's all right. This is an example of our closed site. Just looks like an open field, except for the high rise you see in the background on that one picture. And a lot of times in landfills, actually going up in elevation is preferred. So,
Jeff,
yes.
if I may, on your closed Class 1,
Yes, sir.
we have to monitor it.
Yes, sir.
On the line Class 1 that's not in use, is there still monitoring and all that to take place once it's closed?
What we do on the unused Class 1 is we pump off surface water. Like if we have a big rain, well, we're down there, got the pumps running. That has accepted no waste, so you have no byproduct to monitor. It all is kept on top of the liner in the dirt. So we pump the water off as stormwater. It can go right into our stormwater pond.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a little water that penetrates to the liner. We pump that into a leachate pond. Okay, but it's clean water. Where's that Class 3? Okay, our Class 3, and this is again, this is the landfill that receives waste every day that you guys see when you come out. It's approximately 26 acres now. I put in here that it includes swales and ponds because that's important. That takes up a lot of room on the site, but they're necessary. You have to have stormwater ponds surrounding the site and a means for that water to get there, because erosion is a terrible thing in a landfill and you just can't have it. And so a DEP has serious problems with that. So you have to manage your stormwater properly. So when it hits our landfill, it goes down the swales to the ponds, and we have all that in place. So it's a well-constructed facility. Again, we're open 6 days a week, but Class 3 waste is basically yard trash, construction debris, your couches, your chairs, your stuff like that you guys have seen and probably have brought up there yourselves from time to time. I do have a term here that I want to reference real quick for your knowledge, and that's the term leachate. The reason being it's such an important part of solid waste landfill operations because leachate is basically water that's come in contact with garbage. It's no longer water. If rain falls down on top of our open working face, that is not rainwater anymore. It's leachate. Can't be handled like water. If it can't run off the landfill to our stormwater ponds like water. So the reason I'm mentioning this to you is because when you construct landfill cells and for operation in Class 1, leachate is very prevalent, and it's much stronger than water, because now if you can imagine what those trucks dump from households all over the county and it's put into one place, there's liquid involved. It collects at the bottom of that liner. We collect it. Once again, that liner, that's its job, to collect that waste. We pump it out and we get it treated at a wastewater treatment plant or whatever means of treatment that works best for us. And we have a couple options there. But it's a very big expense because you have to put in a collection system to get that water off that site, off that liner. So I just wanted you to be familiar with it. For example, the landfill, Class 3, received about 12,400 tons, maybe a little more last year. We're on track this year to exceed that. And so we're growing. There's evidence, and I'm going to tell you, one of the things I've always noticed is that if you want to gauge the economy, look what your local landfill's doing, because people don't throw things away when the times are bad, and we're growing. It surely seems that way. Transfer station. What else we got? Oh, we got the pictures, don't we? Okay, I'm sorry. Now, that machine there on the left you're looking at is an 826H compactor. It's designed to be right there. It doesn't have another job. And the reason being is that the more garbage you can get in the less space, the longer your landfill lasts, and you get a better return on your investment. This is a state-of-the-art machine. We wanted to put that in there because we're very proud of this machine. It's very expensive. There's other landfills that don't have the quality of that equipment. So we're very proud of that. And on the right, you'll notice what we're doing with our material that comes in. We're putting in our chipper, mulching it. It makes a mulch. It's also a part of recycling. Recycling that wood. It's not being buried. And it's not high-quality mulch, but if citizens need a little bit, we can help them out there because we're growing quite a bit. Quite a bit of vegetation comes in. The other uses for this is we use it on our side slopes for erosion, to protect against erosion and promote growth of grass. And we can use it for, daily or weekly cover. We only are required by permit to cover the Class 3 once a week, but we can use that as cover if we wish to, instead of dirt. Okay, the transfer station. Transfer station, I guess, opened in 1992, so it's really been a good one for all practical purposes. There's a disposal contract in place with Waste Management to transport the waste from our transfer station to Spring Hill Landfill, which is a landfill that is owned by Waste Management. The distance is approximately 55 miles. I think the drive time is going to be somewhere around an hour and 15 minutes for one of these trucks. And so as we bring the waste in, it hits the floor. We move it with our loaders to the trucks and load it going up a ramp and dropping it into the trucks. Those trucks are then weighed. DOT, there's limitations on weight. It would not be good for us if we sent trucks overweight across the highway. These are weighed before they're sent out with a little yard tractor, and the normal load's 20 tons, which is legal on these trucks. And I have a picture of one of those too in just a minute. But the current contract expires in 2016, which is a little over 2 years. The county has notified the contractor that it will not automatically renew. And the purpose of this, I'm going to step out here and assume so the county has time to explore their options on what's really best for the citizens of Walton County moving in the future. So once again, the county has made that notification, and everybody's aware of it. Just to let you know, in 2013, we were a little over 57,000 tons came through there. Running some trend numbers over the last 2 or 3 years, looks like we're gaining about 3,500 tons a year in volume. And so I'm fully expecting to be 60,000 tons or a little better this year at the end of the year. So we're showing a steady, once again, a steady growth pattern, which kind of says, hey, look, guys, we got to look at down the road to make sure that we can accommodate future growth. So anyway, Billy, the transfer pictures, okay, they're up. You can see from afar the 3 bays. You have a commercial vehicle in the middle bay. They dump the garbage. We pick it up and put it in the trailer. Same with the slide right beside it in the roll-off truck. And then down at the bottom, you see our loader. It's a county piece of equipment that loads that trash and puts it in the truck. And this happens all day, every day. It was interesting to note during the season, when I first came on board, we started looking at the numbers, and we were doing days over 400 tons out of that facility. And so you think about that, that's extreme for that facility, and the employees did well to handle that volume. But what was interesting yesterday, and talking with Billy this morning, what did we do, 262? We did 262 tons yesterday in the off season. And Mondays are usually big days because of the weekend, but still, I'll tell you, I mean, that's a sign that, you know, our volumes are going to start picking up, and we're going to have probably another great season. So, where are we at, Billy? Okay, our collection operations. Again, we are contracted with Waste Management for the collections, both in South Walton and North Walton, for the whole county. The effective date of that agreement, the current agreement, not the original, but the current, was March 1st, 2011. It expires, just like the disposal agreement, in 2016 on December 31st. Again, the county has notified the contractor that it will not automatically renew, reserving the right to look at the best options for the county moving forward. Collection and transport, I know some folks may wonder how this garbage gets here and there and down the road. Basically, all of it comes to us at the transfer station through residential garbage trucks, which pick your home up, commercial garbage trucks, which service our businesses, and roll-off trucks, which service our businesses and industrial sites. I'm talking about the garbage that's transported, okay? We also, when we load those trucks, Pritchett Trucking is the contractor that Waste Management is contracted with. They're the ones performing the hauling to Spring Hill Landfill from Walton County Landfill. And once again, Spring Hill is a destination about an hour and 15 minutes or 55 miles away. Current recycling operations. Oh, well, no, we got a picture. I keep forgetting about these pictures. Sorry about that. That's an example of one of those trucks, 53-footers. It's about 20 tons on it. That's how it goes to Spring Hill. Recycling operations. We're working, trying to do as much as we can in recycling. We do offer recycling of different capacities, and we got some examples down here for you. The recycling trailers you see sitting around at different locations around the county, we try to space them out there where they're convenient for the public, and we're working on a current mapping of those locations with GIS, so customers can go on our website and actually see where those locations are. 28 in all in different places, and some of them are multiple trailers and some of them is just one. It depends on where it's at. We do use oil recycling. You can come to the landfill with your used oil. There's 3 other locations in the county, and I believe those are all on the website and tells you where they're at. Salvaged metal. We're trying to take as much metal out as we can. 1, metal weighs a lot. 2, we can turn around and sell metal and get a return for it. 3, we don't have to pay that heavy weight to have it transported across the roads and disposed of. So we're really trying to focus on those. We do accept tires. We can't bury them, but we will accept them. But we have to dispose of those tires that we accept, and it costs the county about $86 a ton for that service. We do, on top of the Class 3, we do utilize some inmate labor, and they do a pretty good job of pulling out a lot of metals, cardboard, various things. And look, it amazed me how quickly it fills up and what's thrown away. We can't get to all of it because operations won't let you when you have multiple people backed up ready to dump and things like that. You have to be safe up there. So, and then we take our wood and our vegetative material that I showed you an example of a little while ago with the chipping operation and mulching. And now we got the pictures to kind of, this is what pictures of our site here, and we got some bales ready for transport. And then I believe that trailer you're looking at there is the one down at Mall Drive on 98. Looks familiar there. Next one is really what we could do if you really want to set the bar high. This is an example of a single stream materials recovery recycling effort in Tampa. And you can see this is a high-tech operation. Those little those little stacks that come down actually are vacuums, and it's quite impressive. You know, I'm not saying we're there or anything like that, but I just want to show you, you know, there are some things out there that we can look at and explore if it makes sense for us. Other services. I'm sure a lot of folks are aware of our hazmat collection days. We do that twice a year, one at the fairgrounds and one at the mosquito control in South Walton. And that's an opportunity for you to throw away things that we don't normally take, like paint and thinners and oils and fertilizers and pesticides and things like that. Usually it's household hazardous waste is what it is, that you don't know what to do with, and you can take it there on these days. And we do that in conjunction. I believe Okaloosa County teams up with us and helps us with that. So we'll be letting you know when those dates are. And we have one coming up pretty soon, I believe. No, was it November? November 1st. So y'all will be hearing about that. Our community cleanup days. This is available in different districts. And here we have an example of the last one we did in District 4. I believe that's Miss Sarah's district. And I believe that's her actually throwing stuff in there. So, but anyway, this is just something that if needed in the districts, that's available. We have a sign shop. We use inmate labor. We make signs for county facilities and roads. I guess the reason we do it is because we have inmates. That's what they do. So, and then we have roll-off dumpsters that we provide for code enforcement cases and special needs and county facilities. And now we get a lot of calls from people that don't qualify in one of those arenas, and we have to refer them to a private hauler because they don't meet that criteria. So, but we do try to help all we can in that area. Touching back on this land, on some of the things I told you we would touch back on real quickly. Pardon? Did I? Everything's backwards on here. Oh, gosh. Okay. Is that what's showing right now? Okay, I apologize, guys. I just had to get my things together. This one here's got front and back stuff, and it's hard to keep straight. Looking ahead, you know, what are some of the things that we can think about? Certainly, I think there's a number of options available for the county to consider as we move forward. But want to just touch on a couple that may make sense, may not make sense. I think is something probably you've already thought of. But we jotted down a couple for you just to throw it out there. Of course, we can always continue to do exactly what we're doing. We can contract out with a company for disposal and collection through a competitive bid process and continue to do this and hopefully get a better rate out of it, okay? The other thing we can do is we can pursue a Class 1 facility, which we are currently looking at those possibilities, and dispose of our own waste and contract out the collection. Can do that. We can also do both. We could collect and dispose of our own waste. All these are possibilities, but there's one key element you'll notice in every one of those is that I think we have to look at the possibility of constructing a new transfer recycling waste processing facility, because and the points I was trying to make earlier in talking about our volumes is that, look, if we're at capacity now with our transfer station and we know it needs work, are we going to be able to meet the commitments of the future of our solid waste that's generated in this county without really taking a close look at that? So I wanted to put that out there as an option. Again, I think there's also another option. There's companies out there that would love to contract for the whole schmear, I imagine. I mean, that's what they do. They're in business for it. So when I say there's options, we have the options. We just need to find out what's best for us. Okay, what am I on? Down there. Okay. Future innovations. Our old Class 1. One of the things I've been doing some research on and been quite impressed with is mining old landfills and taking that material out. We're in a pretty good position for that because we have this large flat area with all of this decomposed waste that 60 to 70%, they're saying, of the material that you dig up is reusable for cover, which cover material is a precious commodity on a landfill because you certainly don't want to have to buy it anywhere. I don't think we ever would with the acreage we have, but reclaiming that airspace is the purest form of recycling, in my opinion, and I think it's pretty neat. In fact, Perdido over in Pensacola has been doing this and talked with the engineers who are heading up a project in Panama City at Steelfield Landfill, and they're doing this. And it's something that's that might fit for us. I'm going to continue to learn about it and try to investigate and research it and see if it makes good sense for the future. If we used to go into Class 1 landfill business, and I have personal experience with this, and we stay there and we're servicing our customers for 5, 10 years, we would have the ability to put in a gas generation plant. You have to have enough methane gas, and methane, I know most of you know what it is, but for people that may not, it's the byproduct of decomposition of waste. It's an odorless, colorless gas, highly flammable, highly volatile to the atmosphere and the ozone. So you have to capture that gas. And if you're in the landfill business, you have to deal with it just like you do the leachate. You can flare it off, put a big candle up and burn it 24/7 where it doesn't hit, or you can take it and convert diesel engines to run on methane, and you pump that methane to those things. And I've seen facilities producing gas for like 3,000 homes a day just off methane from a landfill. It's not pie-in-the-sky technology. It's here. And there's counties doing it. I think there's a county in Alabama doing it close to us. Just throwing it out there for way down the road. Wildlife management. You know, people have a lot of concerns about landfills, and a properly run landfill is an asset in many, many ways. Wildlife management is an important aspect to a properly run landfill. It shows how wildlife and a properly managed facility can coexist. You don't damage one, you don't do the other. There's organizations you can actually get certifications. What this really leads into, you take good care of your land, you take good care of your animals, and you have an education process for kids. A lot of folks like that, and this is really really something that I think that would benefit the county no matter what we do, landfill or not. We have that property there, and it would be very easy to begin that process. And the other thing I think that might be worth stating is that the expansion of the solid waste and recycling in South Walton. You know, when you look at the demographics and everything, you know, we have a lot of volume, or most of our volume's probably down there. And if we can do something, maybe partner it with the TDC. I know they already have efforts going on for cleanup and things like that down there. There might be an opportunity to partner with them to enhance our solid waste program in that part of the county and serve those citizens as well in a better way. So those are just a few things, but really, I guess we're just in a very unique situation to where we can take a look at these things and determine where we want to go and what we want to be in the future. So I hope this has been somewhat informative, and I didn't mess up too much. I was trying to follow this and that at the same time, and I'm sorry about that. But is there any questions that you, yes, Sarah?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I mean, you know, this has been a concern of mine for a long time. Could we go to the map, the original map?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and you're going to have to tell me north, south, east, and west again, Billy?
North is straight up.
North is straight up. Okay. So we had talked about, well, first of all, I want to say something about the men that work out there. You know, our firemen and our policemen and some, you know, are paid hazard pay. these men, in my opinion, have as much a hazard every day than anybody that works for us. Needle sticks, metal cuts, whatever. So my hat is off to these guys that work out there every day, and I had lunch with them not too long ago, and I'm just amazed at their attitudes. They are.
Relay that to them. Thank you for
They're
that.
good. I would like to see, because Billy and I had talked about it, the 3 cells that we have right now, and especially the one that's been closed. If we could reclaim that, first of all, take the metals and all that are in there out, which are causing some of the leachate problems, some of the that we're having to monitor. If we could take those metals out and get rid of them, because they're never going to decompose, and sell them, and if we could combine those, then for class 3 garbage, which is what we're taking now, we would have a big enough site for the next 100 years and never have to move north, south, east, or west to where we are right now, so we wouldn't affect any of the landowners around us, So I think, to me, I'm really excited about if we could combine those cells somehow. It's been 20 years. Go in there and reclaim the metal, get the metal out, reclaim the stuff that we can use for cover, and we'll have a site, if we continue to do nothing but class 3, that should serve us 50, 60, 100 years or so. I'm excited about that possibility. It's something that we could do. We probably would have to do less monitoring, because we'll get all the heavy metals and all that out of the site. So that might help with our monitoring.
Help with our remediation that
yeah,
we're
with
doing
our
now.
remediation. It would help greatly with it, Let's see what, you're right, a new transfer station. Of course, I would like to see a really, to spend the money, and I'm sure we can get grants, to do a first class, not like the one in Tampa, I know we can't afford that one, but to do a transfer station where we can take out the cardboard and the metal cans, and I know glass isn't selling right now, but one of these days, we can stockpile, grind that glass up and stockpile it. Pull everything out, so if we continue to take our trash to Spring Hill, we're not taking as much and we're not paying as much.
Exactly.
Because we pay more right now than Okaloosa County does, and we're closer to Spring Hill. So I would really like for us to go out to try to get a grant for a new transfer station, but I think even more than that, we have 2 years, we have less than 2 years to make up our mind exactly what we're going to do. I would like to see us hire a solid waste engineer company, and I emphasize solid waste company that's all they do just about is solid waste, to take a look at our facility and tell us what they think would be the best avenue. I'm really excited. I also like the vegetation. They're, again, buffering that site so it doesn't affect anybody around it, but we can continue to try to save the citizens of Walton County money. And then my last point is we have a site in Blue Mountain right now that I don't know what we used it for.
TDC's there.
But it's a
Yep.
It's a collection site. If we could put a little building there, a little trailer, something, establish an office there, and have disposal, have trailers there for recyclables, and take some garbage there, and so that the recyclable trailers aren't continually on the road, I think would be a benefit to the county as well as to the people in South Walton. I did speak yesterday to Bob Hudson, who is on the Mosquito Control Board, and apparently we have recyclable trailers there, and they're having a real problem with people bringing in tires, because apparently, I don't know, my tires need changing, I take them to Triangle, and they charge me, but apparently you're charged for tires. Well, so these people are bringing them to they're charging, Mr. Chapman over here to take his tires off, but then they take them to our trailers, they don't pay anything, they dump them, and then we have to pay to have them hauled off. Yeah. So I think we really that's something we need to take a look at, is maybe have some policy that we only take 4 tires per household per year or something of that nature. But that's a really big problem, and especially for us and for mosquito control. So if we had a facility there at Blue Mountain, then they could deal with the tire issue as well.
We've been down there looking around, and actually went by the mosquito control last week and observed that firsthand. And because you know, it just dawned on me, if you come up to the landfill and you go across the scales, you're charged for them, but these are coming across and it's costing us pretty good
costing us money.
chunks of money to
It's costing us
dispose
money,
of them.
yeah.
So yeah, we're going to look at
And
that.
we don't mind necessarily it costing us money, but I'd like to see us at least break even.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I'm through now.
You through? Okay. Jeff, as far as my outlook on this thing, whatever we decide to do in the coming 24 months or so, we need to be looking at how it's going to be 30, 40 years down the road, okay? Now, that transfer station is in bad shape, and I've seen operations going on in there that concern me for the safety of everybody that's working in
Correct.
there.
I agree.
Now, I know the inmates take those recyclable trailers off to the southeast corner of that building and sort that stuff that's in those trailers. And they try to get some of it out of what's dumped in there with the big trucks. But that's difficult to do when you got they're backing in there. You've also got front end loaders moving about and traveling all over. At one time, I believe we had a Dirty Murph in there, but the Dirty Murph died. And so we don't have that ability anymore to go through that dump stuff and get those recyclables out, plus any hazardous stuff that may be in there. So I would advocate that we try to look at, if we're going to remove and replace that transfer station, which I think we need to do, and we expand it, to consider how we can better manage the trash that's coming in there and sorting it and moving it somewhere else instead of putting it in the landfill. Now, I like the idea of going back to that 40 acres to the south there, where it was, no garbage has been in there for 22 years now, give or take. So you're right, a lot of it is decomposed. And there's if we can mine it out of there, we just created additional space for the future to use that there. Now, of that whole 1,200 and something acres that we're talking about here, there's only, about 390 acres of it that you could actually use. The rest of it's got wetlands issues.
That's our best educated guess.
That's educated, I understand
But
that.
it hasn't been.
But just looking at the map, you can see creeks and streams or gullies or whatever
There is,
going
yes.
in there. So that's going to limit, and we do need to keep a buffer there. There are other landowners around it that we need to try and protect and put a buffer in there. But I guess for purpose of the workshop is try to give staff some direction as to where we want you to go. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we need to start looking at our options and really drilling down and finding out what kind of options are there, what's the cost of it, and what's the longevity of it. So,
See, and I think that's where a solid waste engineer company would be our best bet. It'll cost us money, but in the long run, I think they're the experts at it, and they will be our best bet at telling us what we can do. With the rest of we're harvesting trees right now, we're planting trees again. So, we may continue to do that and make money off the site, but if we can stay where we are.
Yeah, I know that, to get a redesign on what we've already got, it's a must to move forward. I know it costs money. We've already began looking at ways that we can draw the money from within and maybe forego this and spend the money here to get this done. We don't want to be a burden to the finances. So, we're trying to figure out ways to do this to where we're putting our best foot forward to make it happen. So,
Well, one time Ray Charles said, in order to make money, sometimes you have to spend money.
it's been yours. Yeah.
I mean, as far as an engineering firm, I think it just would be worthwhile.
So would it be the recommendation of the board for us to go ahead and pursue that, Commissioner Infeld?
I'd like the opportunity to sit and review all of the details. Again, we just got a new version of this today.
Right, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd like the opportunity to sit, before I give you any specific recommendations. I mean, they all sound good. They all have merits. They all have some pullbacks. And So I don't know what I'm ready to say. I want you to go forward specifically with this. I think it's one of the options we need to look at.
Okay.
Well,
But
that's not
when you get versed on it, let us know. We'll come sit down.
Well, I wasn't advocating we take what was presented today and move forward on that. I'm just saying, staff go out there and look at all options and report back.
I would agree with that, just that,
Yeah.
Okay.
even at looking at this, and again, there's some things in there that, even from my pre-briefing, are different than what we had talked about.
A little bit.
earlier. So.
Yes, sir.
I just want the opportunity to, because it's a multi-page document, and I'd like a chance to redigest it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do we want to bring it back to the next board meeting to decide if we're going to hire an engineer or not, or leave that up, or y'all bring it back to us, or what?
We would go do an RFQ, request for qualifications, or go directly and write an RFP for something.
And I think this goes back to where I'm not ready to say that we're ready to do an RFP.
RFQ?
Let's have him come back at a board meeting where we can give you a direction that's more formal than,
Okay.
than from a workshop.
All right, we'll just start looking at it.
Okay.
And come
do
back
that.
to the board with the recommendation, which way we
Well,
need
thank
to
you all for your support.
And Jeff, I appreciate your work and Billy's work to put together
I do too.
an update and give a variety of options. But as you've pointed out succinctly, there are a number
That's
of
correct.
options that can go, including combining some of them together to do other things.
Oh, absolutely. And Billy and I, we're excited because we see the possibilities, and we're just trying to, get at them. So
I just have one final comment. The
Yes,
person
ma'am.
who took that picture of me is in deep trouble.
it wasn't me.
It was me.
You in trouble.
Okay.
Well, thank y'all very much, and we'll do just that.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr.
Larry?
Chairman, Commissioners, thank y'all for allowing us this opportunity. Thanks to these two guys for all their hard work and effort they put into it.
Outstanding job.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah, there is.
One of the things we've talked about and we're continuing to talk about is prioritizing those things that, we've got both of the agreements. We've got a couple of years left on them, but those things don't move fast. So, one of the things we're going to focus on is what do we need to get done first to be sure we're in the place we want to be a year from now and 18 months from now, so we know what that end play looks like. I'm excited that we've got staff now that can take these things and run with them. Yeah, we do need some professional engineering help because that's a big part of it.
Huge part.
So as we look at that, we certainly want to make sure that we come up with the appropriate task work orders for those people so that we know what we know. But a component of what we're doing in prioritizing, we will need some of that expertise. So we will have something and perhaps a recommendation back to you in the near future. But please keep in mind that as these things move forward, there's some we need to get done. And we're not in crunch time by any means. But when we talk about some of the long-term goals, we'll work on prioritizing those as well. But again, it is exciting that we've got a team now that can move this stuff forward and take care of what we got and work on making us more effective and efficient in the long haul. So thank you for the opportunity, and Commissioner Commander, for seeing us through to having this workshop today.
And one more, but y'all tease me about Billy driving me places. There's one drawback to it, and that's that I have to listen to garbage all the way down there and back. I've never seen anybody so excited about garbage in my life. It's this guy. He loves it.
He's got garbage mouth?
He's got garbage mouth. He sure does.
Anything else from the board? All right.
Awesome.
Billy, Jeff,
Thank y'all.
thank
Thank
you
y'all.
very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Any public comment?
I don't know. Is there any public comments? Seeing none, close the workshop. We'll be back here about 4 o'clock for the regular meeting. Stand and have the invocation and pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and to try to do the best work for the people of Walton County that we can on this day, and every decision that we make will be in their best interest. We want to thank you for the rain last night and for it brought to our much-needed drought, but we also want to thank you that we had very little damage through that storm. All these things we thank you and ask in thy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Pridgeon to meet me up front, please.
You're in trouble. To the right. He's in trouble.
Hopefully y'all can hear me in the back. But on behalf of the board, we'd like to present to Commissioner Kenneth Pridgeon this plaque in recognition of your honorable service as a commissioner to the Walton County Board of County Commissioners, November 2002 to November 2014, presented by the Walton County Board of County Commissioners this 14th day of October. Thank you.
Yeah, we need a speech.
Got any comments?
You know how he loves to talk.
Yeah, after the election, there's several people asked me a few comments, want me to make a few comments, and I said, these are also an adage that someone says. It's been several years. He's gone right now. And you've heard that old saying, free at last, free at last, free at last. Well, I'm free at last.
All right, Kenneth, thank you. I'll call this regular scheduled board meeting to order.
Yes, it has.
Any additions or deletions, Mr. Holmes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would recommend that we delete from the agenda the update on the Freeport Fire proposal. Mr. Tundy is working diligently at that and got some little more work to do before we're ready to make a presentation. Under additions, we will request that we schedule a special meeting to consider a purchase agreement on a parcel in the Mossy Head Industrial Park. We are anticipating having that in the next couple of days. However, there's a quick turnaround on it, and we'll need to take action on it by the end of this week. So we will ask you to schedule a meeting for Friday morning regarding that. And further, it's been asked that we remove item 6 from the consent agenda for discussion.
Okay. A motion to approve the additions and deletions.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any public comments at this time? If you will, I want to remind everybody as you come forward to the podium, just state your name for the record, please.
It went away.
Yeah, they're plugging in here. You good?
No, there's nothing coming up. I'm looking to share the screen.
Okay. You would.
Commissioners, it appears that the technology has gotten the best of me, but fortunately I have copies for you that are being passed out now.
Could you state your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Will Dunaway, and I'm an attorney with Clark Partington with an office in Walton County at 1701 East County Highway 30A, Suite 201. That's in Santa Rosa Beach, or the watercolor area of South Walton. Beyond the interest that I have as a business owner in Walton County, I also represent several property owners who have beachfront property, and I rise to address the agenda item, which on the earlier agenda was number 14-0945, which is the notice to amend Section 22-54G of your code. This is your beach activities code. Commissioners, while I recognize that today Mr. Davis is simply asking you to notice this for a public hearing and that we will have an opportunity for public comment at that time, I do want to take time to note that the proposed ordinance was attached to the agenda, and those changes are such that we wanted to bring to your attention a concern. We urge you to direct staff to let us be involved in drafting an ordinance which does not unduly burden private property rights for beachfront owners. The change that is proposed on your agenda prohibits any item south of Highway 20 from remaining on the beach. Your first slide shows Highway 20. You've got a large area which is covered by your beach activities ordinance. The beach in your ordinance is defined as that area which is the sandy, I'm quoting, means the sandy portion of land lying seaward of the seawall or the line of permanent vegetation. This is a lot of area, and as I'm going to show you in just a second, covers some property owners' entire lot. The code makes no distinction between private and public property, and this is the concern that we raise to you for your consideration. And in illustrating why this is important to you as a board and to the citizens of Walton County, I ask if you would look at the second slide. You see here a section that was taken out of your beach nourishment plans established by the Corps of Engineers. Here you can see very clearly that your TDC and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers recognize the distinction between private property rights and public, in that they have indicated an area in green, that hashed area, which is required permission for them to do their beach nourishment. You'll see that area goes in this illustration. This is the Fort Panic Road area, all the way to the mean high water line. So your code, this ordinance change is prohibiting any item on that whole entire area, which for that lot, which is labeled number 1, is the entire lot. Private property owners, commissioners, have a right, and they are especially feeling the need to post their private property in this area. Look at the next slide that you see here. You'll see the survey boundary that shows this private property going to the mean high water line. And then the next slide shows various private property beach signs along your South Walton beaches. This is because the TDC and the public continue to trespass over private property in this area. And this is especially concerning given the beach nourishment which you are moving forward with, which in this area purports to going to establish approximately 350 additional feet of beach in front of that area, the Fort Panic area. You can see that on the next slide. This is the updated Corps of Engineers presentation, which shows an additional 350 feet of beach seaward of the mean high water line, which would be in front of the Fort Panic Beach area. This is the area that the TDC proudly calls the public beach. This matters because we're already dealing with problems in the western edge of South Walton in the area where an ECL has already been established. That is, you'll see on the next slide.
Sir, your time's up. It'll be a... Thank you. All right, items that were removed or for further discussion? I'm sorry. Come forward, please.
Willie Morris, 75 Fort Panic Road, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. The agenda item, not aware of it, don't know it, does have to do with the ordinance that the previous speaker was talking about. And having no knowledge of what he was addressing, he did address some of them. But as written, the property that has been deeded to me since, and my family since the 70s, since we've been able to go down there, put my chairs in, use. It says that 1 hour after sunlight, I've got to get up and leave with my chairs, I guess. I don't understand that even being remotely considered. It was like the turtle light ordinance several years ago. They said, that's not what we intended. It's not what you intend, it's what you put into the law that matters and how they enforce it. And that's the great concern that I have, as I say, without someone who's going to be affected by some other thing than the people who intended to maybe write a good law. I understand Panama City's problem, getting out of hand with stuff that was left overnight. It became a trash pit. But the homeowners there don't want that to be a trash pit any more than anybody else. But to make this law a vendetta by what's going on, to trample property rights without due concern for us as the property owners and the people who live there, paid taxes for the last 45 years, have tried to be good citizens of this county, and then to come in and be caught in the middle of a vendetta in something that is being written in haste, it's just not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hildreth?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Emmett Hildreth, Blue Mountain Beach, Walton County citizen, property owner, beachfront. I would like to see litigation come to an end in Walton County. All it takes is a simple separation of private property from public property and put it in your document, your ordinance. If you do this and recognize the fact that the county commission has the right to do things and order things on public property, and it does not have the right to order and do things on private property, such as declare something abandoned and the ownership transferred to the county. Doesn't have that right. The statutes, the Constitution, you're flying in the face of even your own judge here in Walton County. Judge Green has ruled. The case is history, and it does not substantiate invasion of private property. So if we would like an end to litigation, please, and we ask you to direct your county attorney to distinguish between private and public and let you have your ordinance on public property defining what can and can't be done there. But please, take your hands off of private property and end the litigation. The court has spoken, and we all should honor the rule and the verdict of the court here in Walton County. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne?
I'm not here on private and public property because I already have private beach in my order with y'all, so I don't have that problem. Good thing I went to court. But let me ask y'all this.
Your name for the record.
Juanita Ferguson. Suzanne Harris now. So you call me by name coming up.
I know that, but
Sorry,
the clerk
I'm just
over
kidding.
there, I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to lighten it up a little. But the other night at the last beach nourishment meeting, it was said by Brad Pickle that the county is already applying to set the ECL for the Blue Mountain Beach and all the rest, not West Walton County, but East Walton County, whether the beach nourishment, whether y'all approve it or not. I think that's something y'all really need to have a public meeting on, like you did the state park, getting through access to the state park. I think there's so many misconceptions on what is going on. If the private property owners are fighting having an ECL and 50 yards of sand, if y'all are going to put the ECL in anyway, and they really don't realize that, but that is exactly what Brad said the other night. So if all of y'all are planning to just go ahead and put the ECL in and not tell all these people in eastern Walton County, that's something I think is wrong. I think they need to be able to ask every question they want to ask at a public meeting where y'all are listening and the Corps is there talking. Because at one meeting, I was told that the Corps wanted this ECL and they wouldn't do it without it. Now I'm being told by the Corps at the last meeting, they don't care whether you set an ECL or not. It's the state that cares. But I think y'all need to be real careful just going ahead and setting an ECL while everybody doesn't have all the facts. I think y'all really need to think about what y'all are being told compared to what the people understand on the private beach. There's a way for all this to work out. I've got a private beach. I hadn't left one item on my beach since it happened. Beach guys get fined $100 personally out of their tips if they leave a bucket or a raft on my beach. I think everybody wants clean beaches here, but I think y'all need to stop pitting the private owners against the public. It wasn't the private owners or the owners here that overbuilt all the beaches and forgot that maybe someday people all the way back up to 98 would want to use the beach. We were so busy building all along the beach. That's what we did. So now we've got to all come together and find a way to make everybody happy, and y'all can do that. Y'all working together with the public can do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Seeing none, moving on. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we want to go with that first, or the item we pulled off?
Which one?
Number 6.
We can go to item 6 on the consent agenda for discussion.
Okay, this was pulled off the consent agenda for discussion. It's item number 6 under administrative. It's approved purchase of office furniture for newly elected Commissioner Cecilia Jones. I understand there's some public comments.
J.B. Hillard, resident of Funiac. This comes up every time we have new commissioners elected about moving offices, buying furniture, and so forth. And I'd like to have it explained to me what the policy is, how much money is spent on new furniture for each commissioner. I don't have any problem with a commissioner that moving their office to a place that they like. I do have an issue with buying new furniture when the county has probably got furniture somewhere that would serve the purpose. And how much are we talking about spending for this one? I'm not picking on Commissioner Cecilia in particular. It's just this comes up every time someone gets elected. Kenneth could transfer his furniture without any problem, and she might not want to sit in his seat, but the rest of the equipment and so forth, why not? How much are we going to spend on this?
$2,500.
$2,500.
Yes, sir.
That's not very much. I thought it would be more than that, to be honest with you. But anyway, is there a policy to do this, or just administratively it's done, or this is the way we do it?
Typically done administratively. Obviously this is my first opportunity to be on this side, but
okay.
We had conversation with Ms. Jones and told her we would accommodate her within reason.
Okay.
And I believe the whole process has been reasonable because there are differences of what those needs are and something. It may be real difficult to have a hard, fast policy, but I can assure you that as long as we're here, we'll have that discussion that we're going to provide what you need, but we're going to make sure it's within reason.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We need to do the consent agenda or vote on that first.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything to vote on.
Yeah, it was
Because we
removed,
approved
it was
the
removed
first.
from the consent agenda, so we'll
Oh,
have
you
to.
did approve it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve the purchase.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Make approval of the consent agenda is next.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a comment before we get into that. I just want, for clarification purposes, on the administrative item, or for agreements and contracts, number 4, on the grant match for the supervisor of elections. I think what didn't get brought out is the fact that it takes the board action to approve the use of contingency funds to make the match, and it's in the supervisor of elections account. So what you're actually doing is you're approving him to use his contingency funds to make that $1,400 match, and it wasn't clearly articulated, and I just want to make sure that there was no misunderstanding about that.
Okay. All right.
So motion to approve the consent agenda.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Jones, I believe you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to address the item that we asked you to add to the agenda, which you did, regarding the announcing of a special meeting to be held here at 9 o'clock on this Friday morning, and that will be the 17th, for the purpose of considering and authorize the chair to sign, if you so choose, a purchase agreement on some property in the Mossy Head Industrial Park. We're awaiting that document. We've had conversation today that it will be in our hands within the next 24 hours, but it's very time sensitive, and we have to have it back to the developer if we do wish to move forward by Monday. So we're requesting that we schedule a special meeting for Friday morning at 9 a.m. for this, to consider this one item, and we'll do the appropriate notices and emails and things to make sure we get it announced as broadly as we can. But we believe we're required to give reasonable notice, and we believe if we start now and do the postings and put it on our website, that will constitute reasonable notice. So we would request you approve holding that special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next item, Anna Causey is here to discuss the Walton County Wellness Program, so we'll recognize Anna.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Todd Torgerson with Combined Insurance Services and my business partner, Anna Causey. We're here to talk about the wellness program, but first I wanted to just say thank you for the opportunity to serve you and your employees. You've got a great group of people, and we're off to another good year. We also want to thank you for your support of the wellness program. There's not many things that you could embark on in terms of initiatives that are going to be more important to your group long term. The fact is that a good wellness program like you have embarked on here is only a win-win for the employees win and the group wins. Everybody wins. There's really no downside to it. And one of the reasons is that we have learned through studies that 60 to 80% of all of our medical expenses, 60 to 80%, are behavioral or lifestyle related. And that's what this program is dedicated to doing, is to helping people understand where they are on a risk spectrum and making sure that they have the opportunity or the options that they see ahead of them on the way to get in the right shape. So far, we've had a good response from your group. We've got the wellness fairs set up for later this month on the north end, and then on the south end on the 5th. And then one of the things that we did want to point out is that for District 5, we have 100% participation from the road crew, which is unusual for any division to have 100% participation. So we're very proud for them and proud of y'all for all of that. The thing to keep in mind as we go through this is that this is a long-term initiative. It's something that we will not see immediate results from. We have in times past seen some immediate results, but in terms of large numbers, it will take a good bit of time for things to flow through and for the net effect of the good work here to come into play. But it will. And what we will do after the health risk assessment is over, we get the reports back, we're going to share with your administration and the insurance committee where things stand. And I would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to thank the administration and your Human Resources Department for really pulling all this together and making sure that we're getting a great response from your group. So that's where we are. That's what we have. If you have any questions, we're here to entertain. But otherwise, we just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to do this.
Okay. Any
I
questions?
do have one question. I thought I read in some of the stuff I saw today that we have to have 100% participation. Okay, so I read it because I believe that's to me, an invasion of someone's personal.
Oh, sure. No,
Rights.
no, it's all voluntary.
Okay.
All voluntary.
Any other questions?
Good job with your crew.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd and Anna. Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item is regarding the South Walton Sports Complex. We believe the next prudent step in the process of moving the development of that park forward would be to issue a request for qualifications for a design consultant. This will allow us to determine the most qualified team to facilitate the process of developing that design. So with your approval, we will provide an RFQ document for you to consider at least by the first November. We'll shoot for the next meeting. It may be the first meeting in November, but we will have one in short order.
I do want to try to, and I think it is important because we said we would hold public meetings, but I think they need to be brief, soon and to the point so we can start building this thing. We don't need to have 6 months of people who are interested, they're going to show up.
Okay.
You know?
That'll be part of their direction.
Get it done. Let's get it built.
What's the board's wishes?
Motion to approve.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Mr. Jones.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is regarding a facility that you see there on the screen.
That's the one in Freeport, right?
Actually, the one in Paxton.
Paxton. Oh.
Staff would recommend that we would duplicate this facility at a site in Mossy Head to facilitate the sheriff's office, their needs, but further to utilize it for county activities. Specifically, on the left side of that photograph is a large room for meetings. We believe that would be a great amenity for our tenants in the industrial park to have staff meetings or area meetings and allow them to utilize that. We would design the building where that could be segregated and secure from all other activities. Further, there's opportunity at times for us to meet with clients on site, and it would allow us to do that as well. The estimated cost of the facility for the construction is $73,688. That's using county forces. We would certainly anticipate there would be some additional cost in landscaping and infrastructure and perhaps some furnishings. So I would recommend, and if you would approve, that we total cost not to exceed $100,000, and would utilize the funds that we've received from the sale of property in the park.
So moved.
I'll second for discussion. Is the sheriff going to help us any at all?
Well, that was a question I was going to come with.
Sheriff, go ahead.
We're having those discussions now.
Yeah.
As I oversaw that construction project 5 or 6 years ago now, and there's a lot of IT, cabling, security, cameras, et cetera, et cetera. So it depends on how well they want to do all that, but I think there is a cost associated with them.
Yeah, and I would anticipate those costs being borne by the sheriff's office, that our pricing and is just, just for the construction facility, providing the property. And, if we don't come to those terms, will somebody come back and tell you something different?
Okay, do we have enough money in the Mossy Head account
Yes,
to
ma'am.
pay for it? We do?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got.
All right.
I'd like to see that come back, specifically who's going to pay what.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Do we need a motion?
There was a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor and a
Yes, right.
second
Okay.
to approve up to $100,000 for this construction part.
I'll offer an amendment to that we're brought back at Sheriff's Department, what he's willing to pay.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
You happy to do
So
that?
you go to the amendment first.
Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment first. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion and a second on the floor concerning the transfer of $100,000, not to exceed $100,000. And a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, we're asking you to consider holding a special meeting on October the 28th at 3 p.m. prior to the regular board meeting for the final presentations from AVCAR regarding the parking needs assessment and from Government Services Group regarding the tax increment financing report. So that would be an hour before our regular meeting for those two presentations.
Do it at 2:30, so we'd have a few minutes between.
We can if you'd like.
My question is, we've heard the parking needs assessment, I think of it about 3 or 4 times. Do we need, I mean, I know that they finalized their study, which was kind of a reiteration of what they gave. Do we really need another pre-board meeting to take more public comments on that?
I think the idea was not to take public comments, but simply to have them present the compilation of the comments through those meetings.
Yeah, no public comment.
If you'd rather do it during a meeting or just have them make individual presentations, we can do that.
I just thought that, it was just, I just thought that we didn't need a pre-board meeting to have those presentations, because,
We can put them in a regular meeting. I mean, we just,
yeah, I mean, that's what I would rather see, but,
whatever the board's pleasure is.
As long as it doesn't run us late at night, I'd rather start early. For myself, I'd rather start a little early in the afternoon and get out earlier in the evening, you know?
I would concur with Commissioner Meadows on this, that, we've heard very extensively, section by section and line by line, and it's time now for an executive summary type approach with just a broad overview, and I think that we should be able to do it in the meeting.
Okay.
And I think they need to understand, we're not looking for a long, drawn-out thing.
Right.
Short and sweet, and get to the point, because we've heard all the details.
Okay?
we
Well,
would
I
like
assume
an
she's meeting with
executive,
all of us, 'cause
we
she
would
met
like
with
an
me.
executive summary, that's like a 2-pager that says, here's our recommendations, because they were spread throughout the thing and they differed on everything, so a 2-page, yeah.
I'm assuming she's meeting with all of us because I met with her yesterday, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
same here.
I'll be happy to do that. Okay. And the TIF initiative briefing, final briefing, something similar?
The TIF, we could, because nobody's heard it before, we could do that before we could do that 30 minutes before the meeting, like it,
So we'll schedule that at 3:30
I think so, don't you
At
think?
the next meeting?
on the 28th.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Give you a motion to that effect.
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is regarding putting out to bid the infrastructure components for the Mossy Head Industrial Park. So we're seeking approval to seek construction bids in relation to the roads, the stormwater pond, sewer and water extension lines for the industrial park. There'll be some landscaping and other components there. These items are ready to go to bid, so with your approval, we'll get them on the street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Question? Go ahead.
Nice question. Okay, so are we looking at what cost, I know there's a chart here, but there's phases 1 through 4, 5, 6, and then there's a grand total. Are we approving the grand total of?
Yes, ma'am.
Of approximately $3 million?
And this is funded through the state appropriations.
And this is the money that Governor Scott approved
That's
to
correct.
go to Walton County for this economic development. And this does not include the sewage treatment plant,
That's
correct?
separate.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Did I hear a motion?
Yes, and
Yes, sir.
second and
And
third.
Yes,
And a third?
Yeah.
Okay. A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next item is regarding a change order from Phase 1 and 2 of County Road 2 Those were two separate contracts, and collectively, they came in under budget by the $899.64. So this change order will allow, those projects have been completed, so this will just be a cleanup of what's remaining there. There's no money to the county. It was a DOT-funded project, but this will allow them to get the books cleared and close out these jobs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Commissioner. The next item is regarding a change order for the Phase 3 portion of County Road 2. Due to weather delays, it's been determined that they're entitled to 30 additional days of extension time. The substantial completion date is now will be October 21st, and they're on schedule to do that. So we're asking you to approve the extension of contract number 013-023, CR2 Phase 3, extend the substantial completion time by 30 days.
Second.
I have a question.
Question?
Just as curiosity, I see how they've articulated out what days are weather, but you've got 3 holidays that they've got listed in there. When they plan these things, don't they plan around holidays to begin with?
You would think.
Good question.
But
Cliff, you look like you want to say something. Or Jim, come on up.
It's not a huge part of this, just curious if
Yeah.
There's going to be holidays recurring throughout the year.
Yeah, there are holidays throughout the year, but part of the DOT specs is to have the holidays as an extra day. That's just like a rain day. There's 2 days they get for Thanksgiving. There's 2 days they get for Christmas, a day for Labor Day. That's just part of the DOT spec that we're dealing with on this contract.
Any other questions?
So you know, in the contract itself, the day is not computed toward substantial completion. It's a very oddity, but that's how they do it. So
I guess it related to the fact that they're looking for 30 days, but one of the holidays is in September, and 2 of the holidays are in May. And
Right.
talking about a 30-day delay is kind of like,
Now,
how did those fall into that?
for whatever reason, when the days are calculated for completion, those holidays under the DOT guidelines are not included. So
Yeah,
we have to go back and change
we
it.
get a monthly letter from the CEI firm that gives us the days, whether they be weather days or holidays, that the contractor is due to get it all. DOT just accepts the letter and adds it to their total at the end. The county, we don't do that. Otherwise, I'd have to come before you every single month and amend the contract. So we're just doing this one time at the end to establish our substantial completion date. Now, today will be another rain day. So actually now it's moved forward at least another day. But we did this just to establish a substantial completion date and to bring it all to you at one time as opposed to doing it every month.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
What's the board's wishes?
We've got a motion and a second on the floor.
We sure do, don't we? Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is regarding invitation to bid number 014-022, the widening and resurfacing of County Road 3280 from Magnolia Lodge Road to State Road 20. This is a scrap project. We received only 2 bids. The low bid was 1.2 plus million over our budget. So it's staff's recommendation that we reject all the bids. We will do some redefining of the specs for the road and rebid in short order to do our best to get the cost of the construction at or below our funding level.
What was our funding level?
3.3 million, I believe. Yeah.
I think it said 3.887. Am I looking at the right thing? Compensation and payment, that DOT is only responsible for 3.887.732, and that the county would be responsible for the overage of that. So is that what we're shooting for?
Well,
Yeah, we'll have to
Well,
go to
it's a 75% match.
Correct.
And the 75% is the 3.3 million, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Our total was 3.887732 was the total grant. That was 75% of the grant.
So we're responsible for how much?
25.
But we actually got the 25% waiver, so we just.
We got it
yes, ma'am.
waived?
So,
Really?
I mean, usually you have to do the in-kind service for the 25%. They give you 75%, 25 is in-kind, and you can apply for the waiver and usually get it where you do not have to do the in-kind service. So all we got to work with is 75% of the original funds that we turn into DOT.
And that total is 3.3 million?
Yes, sir. 3.887732 was the total amount we got. Then you take your CEI out, and right now we got $3,342,732 to work with.
And
What is
was the
CCI?
bid? The low bid was,
4.5?
yeah, right at 4.5 million.
Let's sharpen our pencils again.
You're right. A lot.
So if we had to go with a $4.5 million bid, we'd have to come up with the balance.
2
Okay.
million. So what we're trying to do is get as close to that 3.3 million we can with some alternatives.
Well, isn't that, this is public knowledge, so, I mean, somebody bidding on it.
No, actually we'll be changing the specs and making some alternatives and the ability to bid in a different way. And Cliff's working on those now. We should have them prepared tomorrow. But I know there was some densities or thicknesses of lime rock that may have been overkill that we worked on doing some redesign on.
You're right, the money won't change, but we can reconfigure the scope. Correct.
That's,
yeah.
Well, if you're bidding on a project and you know what
You know how much
the
you got to
numbers
work
are,
with,
I mean,
How could you bid that much over knowing what the,
But
Based on the specs.
But you know,
Just to
the thing is you know what it is. So
there'll be some substantial changes in the specifications.
oh, okay. So okay.
That was, we had that question earlier to make sure that we just weren't regurgitating the same process, but there were some opportunities that were identified that we could amend the specs.
Okay.
In some instances, thickness of base material and how much lime rock it was required, and then add some alternatives back in that we could see if there's areas that we can take a different approach to come out with a better price.
How long is that section? Do you know, Wilmer?
It's about 7.5 miles, I believe, Commissioner.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
we need a motion to reject and go out for bids again?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is requesting you approve the invitation to bid 014032 for the purchase of one backup diesel generator for Public Works to the low bidder. We had approved this not to exceed $42,000. The low responsive bidder was Quality Electric Supply at $31,426.09. There was one bidder that was lower, about $2,000, but was determined to be non-responsive by the fact they did not include a bid bond. So our recommendation is to award the bid to Quality Electric Supply for $31,426.09.
Board's wishes.
Motion to approve?
I'll second, but that's one heck of a generator.
Running a big building. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, per your direction, we've been working with our consulting engineers to develop a scope of work and a cost of that work for the stormwater issues and basins in South Walton. We have that both before you, and which will encompass all of the areas that were presented to you on at an earlier date. The prices from Atkins for their portion of the work is $169,808.63. For Purple Ridge is $146,700, and for Tetra Tech it's $177,590, for a total of $494,000 $1,098, which is a few dollars less than the $500,000. So that worked out pretty well. So your approval of this will, we will put them to work based on this scope of work tomorrow. At the cost, we would anticipate that in about 6 months, we will have all of this work done and in hand, approximate cost, and the corrective actions that need to be taken in each of these areas.
I'll make the motion to approve, but then I have a question, just that, like Bill said, for my edification, why are the numbers just a little different? Is one area perhaps bigger than the other, or they're, all
Yeah, we broke it down into basins.
Yeah.
And so some of them were more
Bigger
inclusive than
okay.
others and would take a little more work.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, we're requesting the board to approve a cooperative agreement between Okaloosa County and Walton County regarding County Line Road. County Line Road is in the northwest part of Walton and the northeast part of Okaloosa County. It somewhat meanders between county to county. The issue that's before us is, to date, when there was a rain event or a storm event and FEMA became involved, Okaloosa County would claim the whole road as theirs, and we would not get any reimbursement funds. So this agreement would establish what part of the road Okaloosa County is responsible for, what part Walton County is responsible for.
Motion to approve. Although I want to make one note, there's also a County Line Road in Villa Tassa, which is in my district. These are often confused, and we also have about the same problem with them. That road is split down the middle. Unfortunately, we get all the stormwater from that road. So maybe at some time we need to look at Okaloosa County helping us redo that road.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bagby.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, first item we have on the agenda is approval of the request to approve and award the contract to RBM Contracting for the Legion Park boat ramp in the amount of $57,573.
Board's wishes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the second item is we would ask that you direct the county administrator to contact the owner of the parcel that we've been leasing across from Gulf Place and determine if he is willing to sell that parcel to the county that we can use as overflow parking for Ed Walleen Regional Beach Access.
And just FYI, I have reached out to Mr. Jones, and he's to give me an answer in the next few days whether he has any interest or not.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the last agenda item we have is request to advertise and hold a public hearing on October 28th, 2014 for a budget amendment to move $250,000 from emerging market reserves to promoting or recruiting for additional air service to the Walton County area. And
Yeah, one correction on that, Jim. I think it was 500,000 instead of 250. I thought that was the.
yes, ma'am, and that is the amount that you and the administrator at Bay County Airport or Panama City Beach Airport had talked about, and if that's the board's wishes to increase that amount to 500,000. They are trying to recruit 2 different air carriers, one that would have a direct flight from Houston Bush International and one that would have a direct flight from New York City to come into the Panama City Beach Airport.
And so when you say Walton County area, I thought, well, of both airports, but you're talking specifically of the Bay County Airport.
Well, the only proposals we have are from Bay County. I did receive a letter from the administrator over at VPS asking if they were eligible for help, and I went back and quoted the ordinance that y'all passed when you passed that additional half-cent emerging, and it was for the Walton County area. So either one of those airports would be eligible, is what I told him. But he does.
We'd like for us to reach out to that airport because
Well, they don't have a specific proposal that they've brought to the board or to
Yeah, well, I think we
GDC.
could let them know that we would be.
But I did tell them that they were eligible based on the ordinance, because that's the
I
way
think
it
we could
reads.
definitely let them know that, that's part of the plan. But one of the things too is that, this is just an account that would have money in it. It wouldn't necessarily all go to them or for a specific thing. They have to make a specific request to
Right.
us.
Right.
Correct? And,
Right.
And, yeah. And so,
So this
That's
is
kind of
just putting in
Yeah.
the current year budget money so that we could come back, and we'd still come back and get your approval, because what they're talking about, I think, is one of them is 150,000 is for the first one, and then the other one's more, obviously.
What you're asking is just to roll the money forward into the current budget year, and then you'll be coming back to how to spend it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And roll it forward or pull it out of those reserves. I understand what
Why do we
the
need to pull it out?
differentiation. We're rolling forward from 2014 because we really haven't put that money in the reserves yet.
Similar to what we do with capital projects and grants that aren't completed, usually in the month of October, we roll those monies forward so that the board can have them available to them at the time of action.
All right, are we talking 250 or 500?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember if we have 500,000 additional in that half penny that was generated to roll forward.
I think that's important. before
Yeah,
we
I would
make this
defer to Melissa. I can't remember right off the top of my head. I know how much is in the reserves. There's over $4 million in the reserves that are tied to that half penny, because I haven't gotten to otherwise it would have to come out of that $4 million pot or the.
As an aside, the board can take action on the first 250 at this meeting, and at any future time can take action on the other 250 if that would help expedite things.
well, it would. One of the things that we had this big meeting with them, one of the things that it's kind of like the economic development wing, is that you can't really tell people who's coming in, and you need it very quickly, kind of like the thing on Friday, So the airport has this thing where they may have to call us and say, are y'all in? If we don't have the money in some account, then we have to delay it to come to the board and such. So what we're trying to do is have an account so that it's there. We don't have to transfer funds, and that we can respond to them quickly, because that's what they're asking us to do.
And I would agree with exactly what you're trying to accomplish. I'm just saying that if there's confusion as to whether it's immediately available 250 or 500, it can be split into two different meetings. But
And to reinforce the commissioner's point is, it's we have the answer. We probably have the 500,000 because we still don't have September's revenues in yet.
And I think you're going to be right. I see the 250, but we do not have the 500 for fiscal year 14. We do have the 250.
How much do we have?
A little over 250.
But I'm confused. She's saying that so y'all could act quickly, but to spend that much money, you would have to come back to the board.
Right. But we
And so
wouldn't
it's-
have to schedule a public hearing to
Okay.
have the public hearing, and then 2 weeks later or 4 weeks later have another
Still have to
meeting.
come back to the board. Gotcha.
And using the roll forward method, because it was a previously budgeted area, it can do it on a motion to roll forward and not have to go through the public hearing, to at least make the money available so that when whatever the project is that comes up, you can go back and say,
Okay.
we've got this much in the account. I want the board's yay or nay on doing that.
Well, then what I think we're asking for is to roll forward 250 and have a public hearing on the 28th for the additional 250. And then that way, it's sitting in a line item in the FY15 budget, 500,000, for us to only have to come back once for the.
The first motion would be to roll forward the 250 from prior year's budget into this year's budget to be available, to be brought back to the board when you decide what the project is. So that's motion number one.
Right.
Got a second to it?
Yeah, that's my motion.
I'll second. Or did you second?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't make any difference. Okay, we got a
I'm
motion
lost.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now,
You're up again.
Now, the next one is you
Two.
want to hold a public hearing to do,
Pull money out of the emerging market reserve, $250,000
so,
out of the emerging market reserves for the promotion and recruitment and/or
so
recruitment.
that will require the public hearing to move that money. So I'll make that motion that we hold the public hearing the next time to move an additional $250,000 from the reserves into this fund that will be available for you to make these
Okay.
presentations.
And by then we'll know whether or not we got 250, right?
Well, we have
We got the
250.
50 now, but I mean the
Just don't
additional
have
250.
But then it's kind of irrelevant because it's coming out of that reserve fund.
Sorry. And if it would
Second.
be an acceptable alternative to wait until we see if there will be enough in there to cover the other 250, could we just come back before the board when the final month hits and roll forward the additional 250?
Let's go ahead and have a public hearing, because we don't want to get caught in a,
I'd like
Okay.
to have, we already put 250 in just now. And the other one's going to require that because we don't know yet whether it's going to have that amount or not. This covers both bases.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, I believe we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. At the last meeting, Commissioner Infeld, I believe, had asked for a parking update. Of course, we're moving forward on the Angelos property. We've asked, and the county administrator will make contact with the owner of the Jones lot. We've had another parcel that's come to our attention, but we haven't finished doing our due diligence on that parcel. And I believe there will also be a parking update as part of Ms. Commander's update in her section. So that is our parking up. We're trying not to get over obligated until some of these things either come to fruition or don't come to fruition. But we are continuing to look for additional parking and additional beach accesses. And so the other updates we have, the August bed tax numbers. Yes, we had another record month. August was up 13.66%. And for the year, that puts us up 7.9% for bed tax numbers. We think that September will be good, but we believe October will be a record October. We are, both the events that we are supporting and the numbers and the way the fall breaks have fallen, no pun intended, we think October will be awesome. I would like to, we've advertised, or at all the briefings we've done on the beach nourishment easements, we've stated that they were going to occur on the October 28th meeting, which would be the meeting at the south end. And I understand Mr. Chapman will not be there because he'll be canvassing, and I believe possibly one other commissioner won't be there on October 28th, and I just need guidance if you want us to keep that on the agenda for the October 28th meeting, or if you want us to move it to the November 12th meeting when you'll have all of you there.
Well, what's the board's wishes on that?
well, I think it'd be good to have a full board.
I do too.
That would be, I would move that we have it on the 12th.
Second.
Did you motion for?
Yeah, that was my motion. I moved that we would have that particular
So move it to November 12th.
on the 12th, the
Okay.
TDC's presentation of the easements and the subsequent vote or non-vote by the board.
Okay, it's a motion. Got a second? Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And then our last item that we want to update you on, I think I sent you all pictures of the damage at the Miramar Beach deck. We expect to have 2 bids in hand tomorrow. Not sure the amount that those bids will be, but we would like to fix that under emergency conditions and get the protection. We've got a little plastic fencing up there now to try to protect, but we lost about 100 feet. Fortunately, we think everything is fixable and replaceable without having to do any concrete work or anything like that. So,
The person left after it happened?
The person's friends took his keys and took him to the Circle K. My understanding, he was arrested, and FHP made the report, and he was had been drinking. I know that's probably shocking. So that's the only other update we have, subject to your questions.
You're asked to go forward on an emergency basis. What would the not to exceed amount be?
Having not talked to either one of the contractors, I can't really give you an estimate, but I would guess, I would even hesitate to guess, to be honest with you, Commissioner. Probably $50,000 at the most, and I doubt that it would even get half of that, but.
I make a motion to approve not to exceed 50,000, but it's got to get done.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item I have is a request to advertise and hold a public hearing on October 28, 2014, to consider an ordinance recognizing and formalizing the Inlet Beach Water Systems exclusive franchise to operate and maintain a public water supply and sewage collection and disposal system in Walton County. As you may or may not be aware, we were in a lawsuit many years ago involving this particular issue. We were essentially ordered to do this. It's kind of not been done, so we are presenting the franchise agreement to you. Since the original presentation, I have made changes which the franchise holder has agreed to on sections 13 and 14. I believe they should be in your packet. Essentially, those changes were that if they have to, if in order to further the purposes of the franchise, that they have to go through eminent domain in any area, they would come to the board and ask for permission, essentially, to do that. And that was the large change that we made. So we would just ask that you advertise it for public hearing and adoption on October 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And speaking of franchise agreements, the next item is a request to approve the 8th supplement, it should be supplement to the amended and restated franchise agreement. And I'm asking you to make this motion conditioned upon the receipt of a consent from a bond insurer insuring the existing bonds. This is for regional utilities to expand their franchise area into the area in Walton County that's going to be included in the Bay-Walton Sector Plan. As you may recall, the Bay-Walton Sector Plan, when they presented, they had already discussed with regional utilities the possibility of regional utilities providing water and sewer service there, but that area was not included in their franchise area. So we would ask you to approve the amended and restated franchise agreement conditioned upon the bond insurer's agreement.
My motion is what he said.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And Commissioners, as you've heard earlier, I'm asking you to, in item 3, to advertise and hold a public hearing to consider amending Section 22.54G of the Walton County Code of Ordinances, providing clarification regarding which items are prohibited from remaining on the beach after dark, essentially known as the Beach Activities Ordinance. This would be, obviously, to have the public hearing and the comment period between now and then. So that's all we're asking you to do today is to set it for a public hearing.
Would this only pertain to items to be picked up? Or, I mean, we've heard some comments earlier from concerned citizens about the public-private aspect. Would that be also under discussion?
If the commission directs me to explore that with folks, I'll be more than happy to. But all we were doing in the amendment was to more clearly define what could be left on the beach after dark. Essentially, we had a code enforcement action involving a, lack of a better word, a fence. It was a monopole with chains between it that was out on the beach. When we had the code enforcement hearing before Judge Green, he said, based on how the ordinance was then worded, he couldn't find where that particular item was one of those which was an obstruction that couldn't be left on the beach after dark. So he dismissed our code enforcement action. All this is an attempt to clarify what can or cannot be left on the beach at night.
But doesn't it also limit the homeowner, beachfront owner, to delineate his private property so that if there's an enforcement action to be taken by the sheriff, it can be well established? I mean, my understanding, these were signs that identified public to private.
Exactly. It was a sign along the property line, or
Right.
excuse me, a fence along the property line. I don't want to call it exactly a fence because it was just monopoles with strings, chains between it.
That might be different for the discussion at a later date, but if it's nothing more than a sign posted there at the start of the property.
No, it was more. It was in that particular case. It was more than
that.
Yeah, it was more than just one
I
sign.
think it's, and the way I understand it as well is, and they can put them out during the day. The whole argument is, do they have to remove them at night? I think that, and under the leave no trace ordinance and the DEP's, turtle lighting thing that we had to do as a result of the armoring and the HCP, it all kind of ties in together. So it's really what you have to take down at night. I mean, can you leave a chair out there at night without you sitting in it? Of course, if you're sitting in it, you're fine, but can you leave one out there at night? That's the question, I think.
My concern is if a person is, apparently, as I understand it, if a beachfront owner, he must get state approval, I guess, from DEP to put that sign out there delineating his private property over public property. And I guess leave no trace behind requires it be pulled up every day.
Well,
at night, that's what I mean.
It depends on. Hang on, there are more facts than that. It would depend on where it is. It depends on where it is. It's not the way I understand DEP's regs. It's not. You can get a permit for a monopole to essentially have a no trespassing sign. I don't know that you can do more than that necessarily, but I do know you can do that much.
Okay, Dr. Riley.
Don Riley, as much philosophy as anything, but as directly applicable to this. First, let me say thank you to Commissioner Pridgeon for his, not only for his years of service, but for his dedication to private property rights. There is, it seems, some uncertainty in listening to what Mark has had to say as to precisely what can and cannot be done. There are certainly some vagaries that are unknown with regard to what the DEP might or might not do. The impetus of government is unquestionably, be it Washington, be it Tallahassee, or be it here, a steady accretion of power. And thus, in this particular case, is an exemplar. Property rights. And those property rights come from the owners of that property. The owners of that property are not Walton County. They are not the state of Florida. They are not of the United States of America. They are part of it, but they are not owned by it. They are owned by people who have deeded private property rights. There is a tension between what is perceived as the public good and what is perceived as inviolable private property rights. And this tension didn't start here in this room. It didn't start this year. It started a long time before this country did. It's part and parcel of mankind and property. And y'all have got a tough job. However, how many of you would agree with the direction that this country has taken with regard to the rights of individuals that are guaranteed by our Constitution? I think most of you would agree that, in fact, this country has moved too far away from those things. We've gotten to a point where we can justify a further accretion of power to a governmental entity simply because of what has been done before. The same process has incrementally brought us to this point where we can say, you know, we are going to ignore the purpose of government itself in this country. And I read about it, I'm sure most of you do too. And the reason that government was put forth was to defend the rights of individuals. And in particular, our form of government in this country is expressly set forth
as defending the minority against the will of the majority and the quite arbitrary will of the majority. As you consider this ordinance, and believe me, I'm sympathetic to the idea of keeping crap off the beach. I don't want it on my beach, but it's my private beach. I tell my manager every year, multiple times, you tell so-and-so that he leaves that sucker out there again, it's going to be in the garbage tomorrow morning. We're not going to store it for him. I'm sympathetic to what you want to do, but it's my beach, not your beach. There's a difference between what you can do, and I'm not quite sure just how far the police powers do exist. I know they probably exist further than I personally am comfortable with. There's a difference between what you can do and what you should do. I would urge you to use restraint as you reach to take from private individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
Very quickly, I hope we don't come to the point. It's not about beach chairs and stuff like that being left on the beach. I hope we don't come to the point where instead of a private property owner being able to have a sign that says private property, no trespassing, which at night half the public won't pay attention to anyway, what y'all are going to do is to fix the problem, since you lost the case in front of Judge Green, y'all are going to end up with a big company that does private security on beaches, and everybody is going to have guards on their beach. And I think that is going to leave even worse than to leave a sign or a chain. Now, if you're going to add 50 feet, they can't put it down there anyway. But you've got a private home that if they go out of town on vacation, they can't put their sign out that says private beach because there's nobody there at night to pick it up. So they just hire security guards. And I use off-duty Walton sheriffs to keep the people off my beach all the time. As a matter of fact, they're so wonderful, they arrested some of my kids down at Wellstail the other night, and I evicted them out of Edgewater. But I'm just telling y'all, let's don't have a group of people that come as tourists that look like when I used to go to Mexico 1,000 years ago, and you had security guards on every beach. And that's what we're going to come to, and it's going to be all over everywhere. And that's what people are going to have, because people that own private beach homes can't afford it, believe me. And the condominiums can't afford it. So if you don't let people put their signs out and leave it, and you don't help support it, you're going to end up with people walking down the beach and coming to armed people on the beach that are security guards, and that will even be worse.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can we thank Armoring for this? Armoring?
There are some, Willie Morris, 75 Fort Pennock Road. There are some very technical but movable points in this proposal. You would have to be a astrologist to come up with some of these definitions. You would have to publish this every day, 1 hour after twilight. I mean, these are definite terms, but for people a half mile down the beach, it's a different point in time. That's so vague, it can't get any more vague. But the big thing, it is onerous. What you're trying to do is to make it onerous for the person to do what he should be able to do with his private property. And as again, not trying to be in the face of you or anybody else, but just trying to do with his private property and enjoy it. And some of these things that you have written in here, proposal, 1 hour after dusk and 1 hour after sunrise. For every spot in there is a different point of view. You can give some time points. It becomes, as I say, discretionary to a point as to when it was issued in counter to the law that you're trying to pass. So it's not what you really meant to say, it's what you're saying. That It just shouldn't be. And it's too onerous for us. It's too inhibitive for the property owners. You should be able to say that this is private property. And that's, again, my feeling. It needs to really be reconsidered that this is an ordinance you want to put into effect.
Thank you.
Mark, is there a word left out of, it says 1 hour sunrise? Is that supposed to be before sunrise or after sunrise? It's in that.
Yeah, it should be before sunrise.
Before sunrise, yeah, okay.
Aren't we today just setting the hearing, and then we can hash all this out, but we're just setting the hearing today?
All we're doing is setting the public hearing today.
Yeah.
Mr. Hildreth.
Gosh, I missed that. I read that 100 times.
Emmett Hildreth again, same thing. I think that what we're really asking as beachfront property owners, we're asking you not to pass the buck. Take responsibility for defending our Constitution, our state statutes, and our private property rights. Don't pass the buck. In all due respects to Mr. Davis, the county attorney, we could have 40 workshops, endless workshops from now till Timbuktu. It's not going to change the basic issue, private property, public property. You might as well just take it on the responsibility of making the decision that private property is private property, and people who pay millions for a piece of land on the beach are not going to back down to the county imposing their will and their ordinance in limiting what they can do on their private property. The Constitution does not support county involvement to that extent as this previous ordinance displayed. Judge Green ruled against the county. He ruled against the county. He ruled that this invasion of private property was not right. You're not going to win this argument in the courts to impose your will on private property. It's just not going to happen, and the beachfront property owners are going to stand firm. We don't need more workshops. We just need you to assume the responsibility of defending the Constitution and the private property rights of the citizens on the beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you can come forward, but like I said, all these comments that are being made right now will be heard at that hearing. But
Thank you, sir. I didn't want to leave the board with the impression that Judge Green overruled or made a ruling that was more forward than what has been stated. Mr. Davis is absolutely correct. Judge Green's ruling was that with the way the statute was written, it couldn't be enforced. I don't want there to be an impression left with the board that that he did anything other than that. The ordinance can easily be fixed by following the same option you had with 2231E, which exempts dogs, the private property owners who have dogs on the beach. It's the exact same thing, and it's your last page of the presentation I gave you. If you were to add that subsection to the proposal that Mr. Davis put, it would separate out the private property. It would all be solved. Thank you.
You didn't give out enough of those.
I'm sorry.
Some of us didn't get one.
Hey, Mr. Dunaway, if you'll just email it to me, I'll make
I
sure.
will. I'll provide that. And thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, so we need to, I make a motion that we set a public hearing on November the 11th, the 12th. Oh, that's right, we're moving it to the 12th. To the 12th, 4 o'clock.
To also
consider the ordinance, consider everything that's been brought forward.
and consider this that was presented to
Yes.
us. Okay. Mark, do you understand? And not just the
Yeah.
items on the beach, but also this?
That's fine, Commissioners, and
I
I'll certainly
second that
meet
motion.
with you before then, yeah.
Okay, we got a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item we have is number 4 is a request to approve a letter to the Florida Attorney General and authorization for the chairman to sign the letter seeking an opinion regarding a use of TDC tax funds for parks. As you may recall, I was asked by the commission at the last meeting to prepare this letter. I've done so, and if you will authorize the chairman to sign it, we will send it over and receive the opinion.
I'll make a motion, but I have a question. Have we asked the Attorney General about buying land for parking lots?
I believe we have in the past, but I'll
Okay,
check.
so that's, all right. I thought we had, I just wanted to make sure, let's ask him everything at one time, you know?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners. The
Opposed?
next-
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is a request from my office for you to approve the purchase of legal software in the amount of $17,500. Let me explain to you what this is. Most law firms, how many lawyers are in here? We have a bunch. Have in their offices something called case management or project management software that's legal specific. Our office does not. We are doing that kind of work both by hand and trying to use Outlook, and frankly, it's very, very difficult for us to, A, keep up with the amount of material that comes in and place them in the right spot, and B, frankly, we'd like to get to the point where we're paperless and not having to rely so much on paper. This program, we looked at a lot of different programs, some frankly less expensive, some more expensive, but this is the one that best meets our needs. It's used by other governmental law firms. We feel very confident that it will make us a lot more efficient and a lot less unorganized. And I would ask you to approve the purchase. I believe the program is called MyFiles. It's a cloud-based program, so we don't have any storage problems on the server. It won't be clouding up the server. It will actually be stored off-site, and it's well-recommended program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item, Commissioners, is a request for you to review and ratify the actions of the County Attorney's Office in the litigation matrix as presented to you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item is, the last meeting you had an executive session and approved a settlement in the case of Margareton versus Walton County. The actual settlement agreement has now been signed by the plaintiff. We are asking you to authorize the chairman to asking to approve the agreement and authorize the chairman to sign the settlement agreement so we can close that case.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is a request for you to approve and authorize the chairman to sign a contract for the sale and purchase of real property with Forest View LLC. This is the property you agreed to purchase for the South Walton Sports Complex. I will tell you this is almost word for word the exact same contract that the school district just closed on. So it's a contract that's been used for the purchase of this property.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, the next item is a request to advertise and hold a public hearing to consider an ordinance granting an economic development tax exemption to Empire Truck Sales LLC. As you know, the commission passed commission held a referendum where this type of tax exemption for new businesses or expansion of existing businesses is available upon application. It's a fairly weird statute, but essentially the person who has the new business or the expansion of the older business applies to the tax appraiser, who then certifies that the amount that certifies certain numbers, including the amount of impact this could have on both our tax roll and the amount of taxes collected. We simply pass an ordinance granting the ability to have the tax exemption The only subject to is it's subject to the negotiation and execution of an agreement that's approved by the board, which sets out, here's what they have to report to us every year to continue to have the exemption. It's a reporting back mechanism that we're going to use, that the statute allows us to use by contract with the person who's applied for the exemption. I will tell you, we're going to have a number of these. I expect, and we're processing up or putting into policy how we handle them, because we have one that's coming that you granted the exemption back in 2012, and it just got, frankly, in the changeover between county attorneys and administrators and new clerk, it got kind of lost in the shuffle. But you're going to have that one at the next meeting, where you're going to hopefully approve the ordinance, approve the agreement on an ordinance that was approved in 2012. But I'd ask you simply adopt the ordinance for advertising, and then move the ordinance for advertising, and then we can go from there.
So moved. Second. I'll second.
Yeah, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's for, and I should say out loud, it's for November 12th, which is a Wednesday, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Thank you, Commissioners. That is all the items I have.
Okay, Commissioner Meadows? Nothing? All right, Commissioner Infeld?
Nothing.
Commissioner Pridgen?
I'd like to say it's been an honor to serve with this board and the board I served with in the past. And I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time with my family. And I met a lot of people here in the county that normally I wouldn't have met and served, and I appreciate that honor. And it's certainly been a privilege to work with the county and work with the citizens of our county. And also working with Mr. Jones, serving in two capacities with him as a county commissioner and an administrator now. It's certainly been an honor.
Thank you, Kenneth.
We're going to miss you.
Mr. Pridgen, I'll miss those walks through Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
In the middle of the night, yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Commander?
Yes, sir. I just passed out to you. I'm sure y'all are aware that the final NERDA projects have been approved on the early restoration. I'm amazed that they're calling it early restoration, but all the NERDA projects have been approved, and we were fortunate enough to be included in some of those. The Seagrass recovery project, of course, extends throughout the Panhandle. Let's see, there's another one, the artificial reefs, we will be a part of. They're doing them from Escambia on through. This particular handout is on the Walton County projects, restoration projects themselves. The Deer Lake State Park will get a paved access road, a parking lot, no picnic shelters, and restrooms. The Walton County boardwalks and dune crossovers, Ed Walleen Park will get an update. Gulf Heights Beach Access Improvement Project will also replace restroom fixtures and update the interior. Boardwalks at Palms of Dunallen are going to get walkovers there. Let's see, there's another one. Bayside Ranchette Park improvements will include a parking lot, a picnic tables, dock, and steps into the water to allow access to the bay. These are all the projects that just the boardwalk and crossovers themselves come to like $386,000, not including the rest of them. This is the last of the first wave of NERDA money. Whether or not they will approve any more or not. What's interesting on here, and I've got my fingers crossed about, is they did approve the $18 million for the Florida Fish Hatchery in Pensacola. All along, there have been two sites that they came up with to work together. The initial site in Pensacola is supposed to hatch out the fish and get them to a certain size, and it's been the plan all along for them to be transported to the site here in Walton County, and we would grow them to the right size. Also, the site here in Walton County, we're supposed to do grow seagrass, which is very important to the restoration of the Gulf. I sat through, and I believe Commissioner Meadows was there as well a couple of months ago, when we had a consortium meeting about our seagrasses are dying. The bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, the floor is as we expected, is not faring well. We've just been fortunate that we haven't had a big storm event to stir it up to see what happens. But anyway, but we didn't get funded for our part of the fish hatchery in the NERDA projects. But we're hoping now that this project has been approved through the NERDA process, that NIFWIF, which is through the Florida Game and Fish Commission, their projects, that we will be approved for that. And that will be not only an economic development for Walton County, employing a number of people, it certainly, and they'll have an educational component, which, kids can go see fish grow, grasses grow. And they're also going to have a oyster shell, where they reclaim oyster shells, clean them up, and grind them, and then we'll use those for artificial reefs out in the Gulf. So we're hoping that project will be funded. But each of you say, y'all can read this, you can go online. I think most of you got this document the other day. And if you really want to, there's a 400-something page document out there that lists all of our projects and all. On another side note, the Nature Conservancy has been working with the EPA to try to get some regional projects, because that's about Walton County applying for Pot 2 money, it's not very likely to happen. But if we join together as a region, and the Nature Conservancy has been in talks with EPA, and they really like our watershed program that we've been doing up here, and looks like that they might give us some favorable consideration if we go out if the region goes out for Pot 2 money. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Here's some of these. Anybody wants them?
I have just one item. Recently, I had the privilege of attending the ceremonies at the Air Force Armament Museum down there in Shalimar, I guess it would be, reference POW MIA recognition. And there I met Sam Houston, not the one from the Alamo. But anyway, he and I got to talk about the Purple Heart. Of course, it's one of the first decorations given to the common soldier back there in George Washington's day. Now, what they have done is they have created Chapter 811 of the Purple Heart country. And as such, they have named it after one of our local guys, our hometown boys, Mr. Sergeant Timothy Paget. And it's named after him in that regard, who lost his life in battle. I'm asking the board to pass a resolution on behalf of the citizens proclaiming that we support the designation of Purple Heart Country in Walton County, and also it'll be recognized in the 7th day of August of each year as Military Purple Heart Day, not only in the state of Florida, but in Walton County.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other additional public comments? Seeing none. Any recap from staff?
We got a land.
Oh, I know that.
That's quick.
Well, all right, I'm sorry, Mac.
Good evening, Commissioners. Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. First item we have is a request to reject proposals on a previously advertised request for qualifications for the Hazard Mitigation Program grant writer. We feel we didn't receive adequate participation. We only received one proposal, and we believe there's more talent out there that could directly benefit Walton County. That's our first request.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Second request is to re-advertise or advertise an expanded RFQ that we broadened the scope on. We were originally planning to try to request a piggyback contract off of Jackson County procurement, where they've engaged an experienced hazard mitigation grant writer and disaster recovery specialist. However, they're in the process of going out for a new solicitation, and we determined that just starting fresh here in Walton County with the right solicitation for services would be the best approach to get us what we need as quickly as possible. And that would be our second request, a request to advertise a new RFQ for.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion
Thanks
carries.
for all y'all's work on this, because I know it's like a tedious.
Renee has done.
Yeah, we do have a, not on the agenda, but we do have a brief update on the grant funding opportunity, if we could have just a couple of minutes.
Proceed.
Renee Bradley, Planning Department. Thank you for the kind words. I basically want to go back over. I've met with each of you to update you on where we're at with the local mitigation strategy. Just let you know our plan is required to be updated in January 2015, and we're working on that and our update of our project list. Also, to let you know about the funding availability. From the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program funding summary we received from the Florida Division of Emergency Management on September the 17th, they announced the availability of hazard mitigation funding funds as a result of recent presidential disaster declaration for the Florida severe storms, tornadoes, straight-line winds, and flooding. This is FEMA number 4177 DRFL. Walton County. The first 90-day estimate was an amount of $372,778.50. And that's really all I have for the board at this time, and I thank you all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee, for your hard work.
All right. Anything else? Being nothing, we stand adjourned.
That makes the funniest sound. You need